It's midnight. The house is finally silent. No traffic, no voices, no hum from the street. And somehow, that's the exact moment your eyes snap open. You lie there, tired, ready, desperate for sleep. But the silence feels louder than any noise ever could. Your brain treats it like an alarm. Why? You'd think quiet would be the easiest thing to sleep through. Less stimulation, less distraction, nothing competing for your attention. But for hundreds of thousands of years, silence didn't mean safety. It meant something had stopped. And when something stops, your ancestors needed to know why. Think about a forest at night. Insects chirping, wind moving leaves, small animals shuffling through brush. That sound is constant, low, and unthreatening. It's the background hum of a world that's still behaving normally. Then it stops, all at once. No crickets, no rustling, nothing. That sudden silence usually meant a predator had entered the area, and every smaller creature had gone still to avoid being noticed. Silence wasn't peace. Silence was a warning broadcast across the whole ecosystem. Your brain still remembers that, not consciously. You don't lie in bed thinking about saber-toothed cats. But the oldest, fastest parts of your nervous system were shaped by a world where sound meant everything is fine, and sudden silence meant pay attention. That circuitry didn't disappear just because you live in an apartment with a lock on the door. The evolutionary psychiatrist Randolph Nesse has a name for this kind of mismatch. He calls it the smoke detector principle. A smoke detector is built to go off too easily because the cost of a false alarm is tiny. A little noise, a little annoyance, but the cost of missing a real fire is catastrophic. Nesse argues your brain runs on the same logic. It would rather wake you up for nothing 100 times than fail to wake you up once when something is actually wrong. Silence to your ancient threat detection system looks exactly like the kind of thing worth a false alarm. So when the world around you goes quiet at night, a small, old part of your brain doesn't relax. It checks. It listens harder. It raises your heart rate just slightly, sharpens your hearing, and pulls you up out of the early stages of sleep so you can scan the environment. You feel this as restlessness, as a strange alertness that makes no logical sense. You're safe. You know you're safe. But some circuit older than logic is still asking, what happened to the noise? This is where sleep scientist Matthew Walker's research becomes useful. Walker has spent decades studying how the brain transitions through sleep stages, and one thing he keeps coming back to is how sensitive the brain remains to sound even while unconscious. Your ears never fully switch off. Even in deep sleep, your auditory system keeps monitoring the environment for sudden changes, because detecting danger has always mattered more than getting a perfect night's rest. Evolution didn't optimize you for good sleep. It optimized you for surviving the night. Those are not the same goal, and the gap between them is exactly where your insomnia lives. Here's the part that surprises most people. A perfectly even baseline of noise, what scientists often call white noise, actually helps people fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. That seems backwards until you remember the forest. Steady, predictable sound is the signal that nothing has changed. It's the modern version of crickets chirping outside a cave. Your nervous system hears consistency and interprets it as, the environment is stable, you can stand down. Total silence offers no such reassurance. It gives your brain nothing to confirm the world is unchanged, so instead it assumes the world might have changed, and changed for the worse. Harvard sleep researcher Charles Czeisler has spent his career mapping how light, sound, and rhythm regulate the body's internal clock. One of the patterns that shows up again and again in his work is how disruptive, irregular, or unpredictable stimuli are compared to steady ones. It isn't the presence of stimulation that wrecks sleep. It's unpredictability. A radiator that clicks on and off at random intervals is far more disruptive than a fan running continuously, even though the fan is louder. Your brain doesn't fear noise. It fears not knowing what's coming next. And silence, after a lifetime spent associating sudden quiet with sudden danger, can feel like the least predictable sound of all. There's a deeper twist hiding underneath all of this. You'd assume silence is the absence of information. Nothing happening, nothing to process. But your nervous system doesn't experience it that way. It experiences silence as an unanswered question. Did the threat leave? Is it still out there, just no longer moving? Are you the only living thing left awake? For nearly all of human history, lying alone in true silence was rare and usually dangerous. People slept in groups, around fires, near the sounds of breathing, footsteps, low conversation, the occasional shifting log in the flames. That ambient hum of other living things was proof you weren't isolated. Pure silence, by contrast, often meant abandonment, or worse. So when you're lying in a modern bedroom, alone, in total silence, some ancient layer of your brain is quietly running calculations it was never designed to update. It doesn't know about door locks, gated communities, smartphone alarms, or neighbors 2 walls away. It only knows the pattern it was built on. Sound equals safety, silence equals uncertainty, and uncertainty equals stay awake and find out why. This explains something else people notice but rarely connect. Many people sleep better with a partner in the room, even if that partner doesn't talk and barely moves. The sound of someone else breathing, shifting position, existing nearby is enough to settle that old vigilance system. It's not about emotional comfort alone. It's auditory proof that you are not the lone watcher in the dark. Your nervous system can finally stop scanning because something is already breathing steadily beside you, which means, at least for now, nothing has gone wrong. Once you see this pattern, the modern world starts to look strange. We've built homes that are almost perfectly soundproof. We sleep in rooms designed to eliminate every trace of ambient noise, thinking quiet equals quality rest. But we've accidentally recreated the one condition your brain was built to distrust the most: a sudden, total absence of sound, with no explanation for why it happened. No wonder so many people reach for a fan, a white noise machine, rain sounds, or a humming air purifier just to fall asleep. They aren't being picky. They're recreating the forest. They're giving their oldest neural circuits the one signal that has always meant you can finally let your guard down: the sound of a world that hasn't gone wrong. So the next time silence keeps you wide awake at 2 a.m., you're not malfunctioning. You're not broken, anxious, or overthinking. You're running code written for a world that vanished tens of thousands of years ago. A world where the sudden disappearance of sound was the very last thing you heard before something walked toward you in the dark. Your body isn't trying to ruin your sleep. It's trying to keep you alive, using the only instructions it's ever had. It's midnight again. The house is silent. But this time, you understand what's actually happening. Your brain isn't broken. It's just still listening for crickets that stopped chirping 50,000 years ago.